Is the video person
Angie?
here?
Yeah, she's here. She just waved at you.
Oh, okay, I couldn't see her. Are we ready to go? All right. Wow, this is it. Good morning. My name is Stephen DeLaRoche. I am the Daytona Beach Shores Special Code Enforcement Magistrate, and this is the Code Enforcement hearings for January 2024. The way we conduct hearings in here is we have an agenda, like most meetings do, with a docket. I will take cases where there are people present first, and, oh, thank you. I will take cases where people are present first, and if no one is here for a particular hearing, we will take that after everyone that is here has had their chance to talk to me. The method in which hearings are conducted is the city has the burden of proof. They go first. They can present testimony and evidence, and at the end of their presentation, it is your chance to cross-examine them. You can ask them any question you'd like. It is not your turn to tell me your side of the story. After the cross-examination period, the city can reopen their presentation if they feel that they missed something or something wasn't clear. Again, you get a chance to ask them questions. At the end of the city's presentation, it's your turn. You can testify yourself. You can show me pictures. You can show me basically anything you'd like. You can call witnesses. After that, the city gets a chance to ask you questions, and then I will make my decision. If at any time you do not understand what is going on, just raise your hand, stop me, and I will tell you your options. I can't give you legal advice, but I can give you procedural advice, okay? First order of business is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. I always find this funny because the only people that were here were the members of the city. Anybody have any objection to the meeting, or to the minutes as they're written? Seeing no objection, they are approved. Sir, you're the only person here. What case are you here on?
I represent Pirates Cove, 3501 South Atlantic Ave.
Okay.
Case 5B, Your Honor.
5C.
5B.
Okay. So that is case number SCDEF 2023-50. So we will take that one first. Ms. Herstein, if you're ready, or if you need a moment, because we're taking the last one first.
Just the wrong case
This is
number.
actually case as read, but not 4750. So, I'm sorry, not 5047. SCDEF 2023-47.
47. I thought you said 5C.
5B.
Oh, 5B. Maybe I'm one of those people that can't hear. Okay. I apologize. It's SCDEF 2023-47. Okay. And sir, did you get a copy of the city's packet?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look it over?
I really didn't. I can do it quickly.
Okay.
May I approach with recommendations, Your Honor, for the...
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Ms. Herstein, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to ask first that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not by the city for this case, be accepted as evidence, most of which have been provided to the special magistrate, and all of which have been provided to the respondent or their rep.
Okay. Sir, the city is asking to introduce the packet that they gave you into evidence. Is there a legal objection to anything in there?
No.
Okay. Then it will be so received into evidence. And I apologize. What is your name? If you said it, I didn't catch it.
That's okay. Richard Merlino, M-E-R-L-I-N-O.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this is an initial hearing for 8 violations. There are actually 9 listed, but violation G will be removed from today's proceedings. I believe that this was meant to be one discussing railings as opposed to the pool deck, and so just G is being stricken. I can't add anything at this point, so hopefully they'll take care of the railings. If not, we'll deal with that in a future.
Okay.
This is a case now for 8 violations, A through F and H and I. Hurricane damaged this property in September and November 2022. The first half of 2023, basically staff supported the property owners, all the property owners in the city, not just this one, to answer questions and help them with whatever they needed to do to eliminate their property damage, basically intervening only for imminent life safety issues. An FDEP permit was obtained the second half of last year to rectify the north wall of this property that was previously part of the building, and I'll definitely show you pictures to describe that. That FDEP permit was issued on an emergency basis for 90 days. That period came and went, and it was renewed in December with an expiration date of February 14th, 2024. And that's for work to have been completed, not to begin. And unfortunately, work at this point has not been able to begin. So a notice of violation was written for this property and sent. Good service was achieved by certified mail. That was at the beginning of November. January 5th of this year, I re-inspected and found that the violations remained, which is not surprising considering the FDEP permit, that no work had been granted and permits were not obtained from Daytona Beach Shore, so that was not a surprise. I generated a statement of violation request for hearing and notice of hearing. Good service was achieved for that notice by hand delivery to the manager at the office. And I would appreciate a few minutes before making a recommendation to go through pictures of each of the violations.
Please.
This is a picture showing the bottom picture of the view from A1A of the building, and the top left picture shows you the view from the northeast corner of the building where most of the damage occurred. It's called the Pirates Cove Resort, and they're individually owned condominium units within this building.
Okay.
Just want to give you a little overview so you know what we're describing before we get into the violations. Top left picture is a 2007 picture showing what was there previously. There's a little bit of an overhang. If they were used as parking spaces, it was a real tight area for parking, but it was there was an overhang underneath. They had things like grease traps for the restaurant that is part of this building underneath, and the top was used as an accessory basically to the pool deck, like a sun deck. Behind this area, there was a row of what I think were glass storefronts that was set up at one point to be used for a gift shop. I'm not sure that that ever took off, and Mr. Merlino could certainly elaborate on this at his point if he wants to. And that was basically destroyed. So to show you how they relate, the pink circles are similar. Again, 2007 picture top left, recent picture bottom right. The pink areas are the same, and the green triangles the same area, but you can see how that observation deck was destroyed. The small row of storefronts behind destroyed, and all the columns removed to destroyed. One more picture showing the view from a little bit further east so that you can see it just a little bit more depiction of the damage. And then we're going to go around the corner to view this same area from the beach. And you can see the two orange circles match up. Again, top left picture was from 2006, showing the easternmost edge of that row of basically glass-fronted storefront, storage, whatever they ended up using it for. And you can see in the bottom right picture that at least part of that, or most of that, was destroyed. And it's all the way back. If you look at the picture above, it's destroyed all the way back. Violations A and D. The wall at the northeast corner of the property is flawed and missing in places, with only temporary sandbags preventing further damage to the property from high surf events. So there is a row of sandbags. You can see them clearly in that top right picture, which was taken recently. Top left picture was initial, although we knew what was happening. We'd been to all of our properties a number of times, but that was what we're considering the initial picture for this notice of violation. And then the pictures on the right were from the 5th of January of this year. Violations B and E are that the structure at the northeast corner of the property is flawed and missing walls and a roof. Violations C and I, the paint on the seawall is deteriorated and peeling. Obviously the most minor of the violations, and yet when you allow the peeling paint to persist, you're allowing water intrusion, which leads to corrosion of the rebar, which leads to spalling, and corrosion of the rebar is what causes all those rust stains that you can see. Violation F, concrete spalling in multiple places on the seawall, and now we're talking about the east seawall that runs north to south for the property. In multiple places on the seawall, evidenced by exposed rebar and rust streaks, which we just discussed. Violation H, retaining wall at the northeast corner of the property is not in good repair, missing and not protecting property elements. Retaining wall, structure wall, it was the wall that ran from that northeast corner that you can see near the lower red arrow all the way to the, not all the way to the west of the property, but along the west portion of the east portion of the building, along the north side of the northwest corner of the building.
So the property that was immediately to the north of this did not have a seawall?
It's a beach access.
It's beach access,
It's
so
beach access.
so water came swirling around from the north and went around what looks like a fairly strong wall facing the ocean. I'll get to you, and then came in like this, okay, from the side.
You can see on that top left picture, the cones that are set up there, or the traffic, they're not cones, well, there are some cones, but also directionals for traffic. That's part of the county's beach approach. Okay. And the county did have some protection there, which was also damaged, allowing for this damage. Or they happened simultaneously. Who's to say exactly in the middle of the storm how it happened? Maybe Rich will be able to illuminate that further. In any event, this is the way that this building currently stands, and there are violations that need to be rectified. Violation G, as I said, was pulled off.
Okay.
I do have a recommendation. It's a little bit complex because we're dealing with both the north side of the property, which is where all that debris remains. We're dealing with the fact that the seawall itself, along the eastern portion of the property, remained intact, but clearly has issues as evidenced by the visible rebar, the rust stains showing that it's exposed and it's deteriorating further. So if I can, I would like to offer this recommendation, which Mr. Merlino was also shown a copy of when he first arrived, so, and did look over briefly, which I appreciate very much. The recommendation or request is that violations A, D, and H, which pertain to the 70-foot wall that they intend to build along the north portion of the property, that those violations, which the 70-foot wall will fix the issues on the north side of the property, some of them. But we propose that violations A, D, and H be rectified on or before January 20th, 2025, so basically a year, which may be accomplished by completing the planned approximately 70-foot-long new wall along the north side of the building, including submitting an approved final engineer's report to the Daytona Beach Shores Building Division Office and obtaining approved final inspections on all required City of Daytona Beach Shores permits for this work on or before the same date of January 20th, 2025, and to correct the violations identified as B, C, D, E, F, and I, which is the seawall portion and other portions, including whatever they intend to do with the structures, the rooms that were previously there, on or before April 30th, 2025, including submitting an approved final engineer's report to the Daytona Beach Shores Building Division Office and obtaining approved final inspections on all required City of Daytona Beach Shores permits for this work on or by April 30th, 2025. Also, we're requesting reimbursement of administrative costs of $162.89, and there's an affidavit for that on page 5B-23. And basically, this set of dates takes into account the possibility that turtle season may not this year be a time during which work can continue. We certainly hope it is, but there may be, it may not be, and we may not know until we're almost there. That's a decision of the state based on decisions above the state level. So we're taking that into account with this time frame. It is generous enough that it should be able to accommodate this work, even if turtle season is not a time during which work can continue. And also, the final date for the project takes into account the next year's turtle season, and that's why we're truncating the end for the work by April 30th, 2025, which also seems like a very reasonable time frame to be able to complete these, all of this work that's required.
This is the longest recommendation you've ever given me, by far.
It is, Your Honor. It's a complex situation. It is a complex set of work. It's multiple phases. I agree, but the turtle season portion of it does throw some question marks to it. And I think it's very reasonable. So I think I will probably remind you of that if, unfortunately, we do have to come back later to consider any fines that have accrued, that this was set up to be very accommodating to allow them to, we hope to get out of their way and let them do what they need to do. I understand that FDEP permitting may be in its fledgling stages again, because they do have to start fresh with the expiration of the 2 90-day periods for the emergency permits. But I think they have plans, they're well on their way. I know they're working with professionals for the solution. And so we hope to just set a time clock to it to make sure that it does get started, keep going, and be completed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Merlino, do you have any questions for Ms. Wilson?
I have no questions. The recommendation sounds more than fair. I think it's important for me, if when that time comes, I can speak on behalf of Pirates Cove to why we're at this point.
Well, if you don't have any questions, Ms. Herstein, do you have any other witnesses?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, then Mr. Merlino, would you mind coming up?
Sure.
And you can say anything you'd like to me. This is being recorded and videoed, and I don't know if it'll pick up where you are, but I know it will there. So I just want to make sure whatever you're saying, there's a record of for your benefit.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Your Honor. My name is Richard Merlino. I've been the board president at Pirates Cove for 18 years. And unfortunately, the hurricanes affected Pirates Cove significantly. Ian ripped the roof off of Pirates Cove and rained down, and all the units we remediated
By the roof, do you mean the very top
Very top
of the
of the
building? So the people that live, how tall is the building?
7 stories.
So the people that live at 7A, B, C, and D lost the tops of their houses?
Pretty much. I mean,
Wow.
there was concrete substrate that was there. Their roof is what they call a built-up roof, which is styrofoam, asphalt styrofoam. That was all pretty much shredded and gone. We were in kind of a emergency state for quite a while. We were shut down for 6 some odd months, not able to occupy. So the only reason I mention that is that the building itself handled much adversity over the last year. We had a company, a Restoration Depot, very similar to like a Serve Pro, running through 150 units, carving them all up.
That sounds extremely expensive.
It was expensive, and many different contractors came in, and we're in the process of working with Gwen to make sure all the individual owners are compliant. We, as a building, is responsible for the common area. So yes, we had to take care of the roof. We had to take care of elevators that got affected. We had to take care of plumbing. The stacks that come up through the roof got racked. We had a lot of expense and a lot of time. And we've since put the interior back together. So that's a little bit of history of what happened.
Is it presently occupied?
It's presently occupied. I think we were back in, I think it was in July, Lieutenant Metters released us with our engineers. We have professional engineers, Chuck Hayes with Keystone Engineering we're working with in this plan to, he's designed it, and we put it out to bid, and we just, we got an approval. The only thing that has to be noted is we had many things going on. We can multitask. We're fully capable of doing that. The stumbling block for Pirates Cove was that if you could bring up a picture I can illustrate, I think it was 7D, is that fortunately our seawall held up.
Right, I
Did it get
racked with that.
Yeah, and did it get racked, and did it escalate the need for us to address Spalding and stuff? Absolutely. Same thing with the building itself. It had some effect, not only the roof, but it also, yes. So the thing that has to be noted is that this whole area would have never happened if it wasn't for the abutter, the adjacent property, which is the county.
Right.
The county's seawall, which wasn't mentioned, is breached, got taken out totally. So if you somehow dial back and you can see where their seawall was, it was gone, okay? I immediately corresponded with Jessica Fuentes with Volusia County. She's heads up that division. I was communicating with her for the last 2 years because the county made Pirates Cove owners know that half of our north parking lot was theirs. And I said, oh, that's news to me. We've been maintaining it for 18 some odd years, and they produced the survey. So I says, fine, now you can maintain it. So Ian comes in, knocks their wall down completely. I get on the same email to Jessica, and I says, hey, what are you guys doing? We're running around getting temporary roof prepared and stuff like that. What are you guys doing over there? She says, don't worry, we'll do something. We put like 20 sandbags there. Not like the sandbags you see here, 20. And that was that's the story right there. So the water just went right over that. Jim Cantori Pirates Cove makes national News. He posts up on Towers 10 Grande, Towers 10, just waiting for that thing to collapse. Because everybody knew it was going to collapse
Right.
because it was slowly wrapping around and undermining and undermining and undermining. So, fast forward to maybe 3 or 4 months, I send another email to the county, Jessica, and I say, hey, it's unfortunate, stuff happens, and I'm from the school of, let's just solve it, let's work together, how do we get this thing fixed? And I tried to get the county, let's collaborate on a situation, because their lot line and our lot line, we have common interest here, so let's work together. So long story short, they just either was too busy or for whatever reason, they just said, you do you and we'll do we. And I says, okay. So we put all that's all our rubble there, so we hired a contractor to protect the building because if more water, before these trap bags came in, before that, we had that rubble, that was to protect the building from having a South Florida issue with the collapse. We were just trying to be proactive. So we secured the building, it was fine. And then we're at this point now, probably about a month ago, I went to the county again because I got my plans ready. We're ready to go. Finally, we're fast forwarding things. So we should be in compliance, no problem. But I still, as a courtesy to my abutter, I says, hey, we're gonna be working here. Are you sure you don't wanna, do you have your proposal? Or no, we don't have a proposal yet. That's John. He's a Massachusetts boy from where I come from. So I don't know his last name right now, but basically they don't have their proposal. I says, when you do, you know, be nice if you share it, but we're gonna have to go ahead and do what we gotta do. Because A, we have to. I mean, here we are, we're gonna be fined if we don't, you know? So we're moving forward. So we're gonna push things back where that line was, like half of our parking lot. We're just gonna build this seawall. It's gonna come up, tuck the corner, it's gonna bury itself back into the building. It's gonna be the recommended height by the engineers, and we should be good. But that's really the backstory why where Pirates Cove is right now.
Okay.
And to just give you quickly, and I'll let you go, is that we already contracted a person to take care of the spalding on the wall, so they'll be working on that. We contracted, it's in phases, so the recommendation, as complex as it may seem, it's always complicated, and it's on point. I give Gwen a lot of credit. It's very much on point, because in fact, it's so on point that it's exactly what we visioned ourselves doing. So we broke it down into phases. So we're gonna do this north phase here to secure that area, then compact it with a geotech guy so that we can start a project on our property, and we'll share that with the reconstruction of that gift shop area and the balcony and all of that, so we can do that at the same time. And then depending on the engineer and the milestone study that they have, they'll give us the recommendations on if we need to do further work on that seawall. But right now we're just temporarily gonna repair the spalding. You'll see that happen simultaneously, and then you'll see us working over there on the north side.
Okay.
And that's it.
Well, the question I have for you, sir, is, as I stated, this is the longest running recommendation I've ever received from the city. Usually you get 120 days to fix your problem or less.
Right.
January 20th, 2025 for phase 1, can you make that?
Yes, I just want to share this. I am not a professional contractor. This is what I know.
Okay.
From day one, we had a permit in in November of 2022, the FDEP permit. We since exhausted that permit, and Chuck Hayes with Keystone Engineering went for an extension. They gave an extension, but the extension was only like 30 to 60 days. But that extension has to be met to complete the whole project. You're never gonna make that. So now, already as we stand here today, Chuck Hayes is going for the re-permitting he's gonna go through the whole thing. I just wrote a check for $3,000, which is necessary to re-permit it, but it's like starting all over with the permitting process. So, I mean, we have people ready to go. Now the stumbling block is gonna be, when will FDEP allow us to do what we have to do? And then it's complicated, nothing's simple. The county has, and I'm listening to these guys, but this stuff seems to be minor with the county. You have to get permission to get on the beach and all these smaller permits. I don't think that's the problem. But that permit to like get back to start,
Right.
there's a delay. So I don't know, but more than 2025, we should be able to do that, because other people did it in that time.
What I would advise you to do, because I'm going to uphold the city's recommendation, if it's not done in the period of time, I have to fine you $250 a day.
Yeah.
But your relief from that fine would be anything that was not your fault.
Right.
By that I mean, if you apply to the city for the permit and it takes them 2 weeks
Right.
to give you your permit,
Right.
that's not your fault.
Right.
I'm inclined generally to take those 14 days off the fine.
Okay.
But we're going to be back here in a year.
Yeah.
I'll be lucky to remember this case. You'll be lucky to remember me. What I would advise you to do would be to keep some sort of instruction journal
Yes.
as to when the permit was applied for, when this started, so that if you have to come back for me in front of me and ask for relief,
Yeah.
you'll know exactly when. I can make a rational decision based upon facts, as opposed to, we feel this is too high.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Great recommendation. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to approve the city's order, issue in order number 7. Sherry, can you just put this in the record, or do you want me to read the entire recommendation?
No, if you just accept the staff.
Okay, I'm going to accept the recommendation. Mr. Merlino, as part of the recommendation, there is an administrative fee of $162.89. I typically order that be paid within 30 days. Is that possible for your organization to meet?
I'll have it on your desk or Gwen's desk this afternoon.
Okay, don't bring it to me.
No, I know.
Okay, all right, so $162.89 within 30 days.
Yes, sir.
All right, you're excused, or if you're a big fan of code enforcement, you're more than welcome to stay. It's a public hearing.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, having taken care of everyone that's here, I'd like to go back to the start of our agenda, which is 4A.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
Would you mind if we go forward? I'm still expecting and hoping for somebody who said,
Okay.
not long ago, a couple days
It's
ago, that he would be here.
A little unusual, I agree. All right, then, so we do not have a 5A in the book, so we will go to 5C, SCDEF 2023-50.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to ask that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not, by the city for this case be accepted as evidence, most of which have been provided to the special magistrate, and all of which have been provided to the respondent or their rep.
Okay, is there,
That's not true, because the rep is not here to have provided.
right, well, give me 1 second. Is there a representative here for the property owner, OC 3711 LLC? Seeing or hearing nothing, the packet will be accepted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to clarify what I had said.
Right.
Because that wasn't the case.
Well, and I have to, for those people watching at home, let them know that there's no one here besides you and I.
Thank you. Let me set us up for the next case. This is an initial hearing with property owner OC 3711 LLC at 3711 South Atlantic Avenue for 5 violations. Again, this is a seawall issue, a little bit different from the last case, but again, was damaged during the 2022 hurricanes. City supported owners as they rectified property issues for the first half of 2023. With no forward movement for this property's seawall damage and pool and deck damage, a notice of violation was generated in November of 2023, was sent by certified mail, and good service was achieved. On January 5th of this year, I re-inspected the property, found that all violations remained. While an FDEP permit had been obtained October 11th, 2023. Its expiration date is shown to be January 11th, 2024. And that was, again, to complete the work. So I don't know where that is in process, if they've asked for the 90-day extension, if they plan on doing something differently. I don't have that answer, but I know that no work has begun.
In this one, I wrote out a question when I read your packet. If they obtain the environmental protection permit, you also said no Daytona Beach Shores permit for the work was sought. Do they need a shores permit as well?
Yes, Your Honor. For temporary work, that's not the case. Like a temporary set of stairs, for example, while they get their plans in place for the new set of beach stairs, that kind of thing. But for a seawall replacement or repair, they get their FDEP permit. They have to get a use permit from Volusia County, which allows them to bring equipment and do work from the beach, and do work from the beach. That's a fairly quick turnaround time. And then also a Daytona Beach Shores permit is required. But once you have that FDEP permit, the Volusia County permit and the Daytona Beach Shores permit are much quicker and a quick turnaround time, because you use that FDEP permit while submitting for the other two.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I generated a statement of violation request for hearing and notice of hearing, and good service was achieved on January 8th by posting for this property. I do have a recommendation again, but I would like to show the pictures to coincide with the 5 violations.
Okay. Again, another question here. In the other case, you had documented that you had spoke to Richard Merlino on several occasions. Here, you don't have any documentation of having spoken to anyone from the property.
I did speak with the
That's
property
unusual.
owner,
Okay.
about other things happening for other properties that he owns. Touched on this very briefly to let him know that in addition to what was going on with this case, there was a lien search requested, and I had to generate a quick notice of violation for an expired permit. The permit to replace all those sliding glass doors that you can see on the upper left-hand picture on 5C2. That permit expired, and because the lien search came in, when I did the searching for the result, I found that that permit had expired, so I had to send him another notice of violation, which it's not on the docket for today on the agenda, but we briefly spoke about it, and but didn't go into detail.
Is this property presently occupied?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's not. It hasn't been since the storms. This is a quick overview. You can see the east side. You can see the lower picture on the right-hand corner. That's the view from A1A. Violation A is that the seawall has failed and is missing in places. The upper left-hand picture, as well as all of the pictures that I'm showing from August 6th, those August 6th pictures were taken on a trek from the north side of the city along the beach all the way to the south. So there aren't the really detailed pictures that you'll see in some of the follow-ups, but you can still see the violations pretty clearly. The lower right-hand picture shows that return wall is not there at all. And the lower left-hand picture, you can see that there's an area, and you'll see another picture of this a little bit blown up further, that it is compromised in that location. Violation B, the pool deck has collapsed at the northeast corner, and I would say it's well beyond the northeast corner. That I have walked up to where that opening is along the north return wall of the seawall, the return portion of the seawall, and you can see that the whole deck and the whole area has just collapsed. Violation C, the paint on the seawall is deteriorated and peeling. Again, the most insignificant of the violations, but still a violation. Violation D, seawall does not appear to be structurally sound. Sections are missing. That lower left-hand picture gives you a better understanding of how part of that seawall has been destroyed, carved out. I'm not exactly sure, how it got to that state, but it definitely needs to be repaired and may need to be fully replaced. In violation E, seawall is not in good repair, is missing in places, is not protecting property elements. So obviously, especially if you look back, at the big hole, we go into storm season again without some sort of protection. While the property to the north has good protection, I'll try to show you. The property to the north has good, strong seawall protection. The water can very easily come in, and you'll see that it's not far from the building. I apologize for jumping around with these pictures, but I wanted to show you that it is in fact eroded. I think pretty close to the building. It does have some protection from that debris, but it needs to be repaired. And the recommendation for this is, again, a little bit complicated, not as complicated as some of the others. But our recommendation would be that the respondent take temporary measures to protect the intact portions of the property in the building on or before April 17th, 2024, which is basically before turtle season gets started. And to correct violations A, D, and E, including fully backfilling west of the repaired or replaced seawall and providing a copy of the final engineer's report for this work to the Daytona Beach Shores Building Division Office by July 18th, 2024. And to correct violations B and C pertaining to the painting mainly and the deck, the pool deck behind it, on or before January 20th, 2025, including obtaining approved final inspections on all required City of Daytona Beach Shores permits by January 20th, 2025. Now, I will say right out, clearly that July 18th, 2024 is into turtle season. This property, the way it's situated, there is depending on what needs to be done, depending on what needs to be done, there's a good chance that much of it can be done behind the seawall. I'm not sure if that whole seawall needs to be replaced, if it can be repaired, added to, shored up, etc. And a lot of that can be done from behind the seawall. Obviously, if it cannot, that would be something that the owner's contractor, owner's engineer could very clearly explain and would be excellent to consider during a second compliance hearing, which I would explain to the respondent, again, to keep notes.
Okay.
But at that point, I don't think giving an entire year is warranted. Hopefully they can do what they need to do for temporary protection and then also move forward with the property. And if not, they can let us know at that time. If somebody had been here.
They could have been here today to tell us that.
That is the recommendation, Your Honor. And then the affidavit for the administrative fees of $149.09 is available in the packet.
And I've reviewed that as well. Okay, because there's no one here to speak on behalf of the property owner, I'm going to accept the recommendations of the city, issue an order number 7, order that the administrative fee of $149.09 be paid within 30 days. Sherry, is that okay? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're welcome. And that brings us to 4A, and which was a request for reduction of fine. Property owner Beachside Coastal LLC, case number PCDEF 2022-61. Is there a representative here from that property? Seeing or hearing no representative, Ms. Herstein, I'm not going to consider anything in this case. It just stands.
Your Honor, I respectfully request, based on the fact that we did receive word in an email, the form of an email. First of all, I will say flat out, I don't have good service for this case.
Oh.
I never got the green card back. I reached out then, and the USPS tracking is inconclusive. It doesn't say it was delivered / received with a time and date certain. So I reached out to the property manager, with whom I have been talking about
Right, I've seen your notes.
this particular hearing for months. You know, back in December we talked about it. Before we talked about it in October. So, based on that, and based on the fact that in order to present this again, there is minimal work other than just updating any conversations that are had and resending notice. Based on the fact that I don't have good service to the owner, I only have that communication with the manager saying that he would be here for this. I'm not comfortable. It's minimal time on the part of the city. I would like to request that this be continued to
Okay. We'll
the
continue
February
it to the February hearing, which is fine with me.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have anything they'd like us to consider? Steve, I understand you came back for vacation for this?
Yes.
You couldn't develop some sort of little cough or something?
No,
Please don't give me.
I would never let me down if I did.
All right. I appreciate you being here. The next code enforcement meeting is February 15th, 2024 in the same building at 9 a.m. And March's meeting is March 21st at 9 a.m. and April is April 18th at 9 a.m. All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Your Honor,
Yes.
you spoke about possibly needing to change one of those, or is it not so farther?
I think it is August that I have to change. But I will double check March because I have 2 ski trips in March, but I think I'm actually home for that week. Aren't you guys lucky? Having this interrupt my vacation time. What's up with that? All right, thank you. Crested